From the day we arrived on the planet, Disney has been making lots of movies. There's more to be seen that can never be seen, all on their streaming service Disney Plus. But when they take an IP that is popular with so many kids and increase the budget and all the CGI, and they take all the soul out of it, it's a circle of life. It's the wheel of horseshit. It's Disney's leap of faith, where they stomp on everything that we loved as a child, and then we see a film like this with a great cast wrapped in a bullshit circle of life. The Lion King 2019 is a live-action adaptation of the 1994 classic. I am not going to bother basically going over the story. If you don't know the story of The Lion King, I don't know what to fucking tell you. You've been living under a rock, or Pride Rock as it were. This was directed by Jon Favreau, who did Zathura. Who remembers Zathura? That was a weird movie. He also did Iron Man 1 and 2. He did Elf. I actually forgot that he did Elf. He also did Cowboys and Aliens. I'd like to forget Cowboys and Aliens. He also did the Jungle Book 2016 live-action movie. Look, I understand that live-action adaptations to protect the IP and do that and keep the intellectual property, the copyright, whatever term you want to go with. I understand doing that, and there have been fairly decent live-action adaptations of animated movies. Upcoming is How to Train Your Dragon, which doesn't have anything to do with Disney, but that one could actually work. The Jungle Book wasn't necessarily great, but I could understand why they did that because it had been so many years. It had only been 25 years, and then they decided to do this. This was the second live-action adaptation of 2019, by the way, because they also did Aladdin. Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine, though. Dear God in heaven. God, she looked great. By the way, the writing was done by one person, Jeff Nathanson, who did Speed 2 Cruise Control, which explains a lot. Taking something popular and then trying to put your own spin on it and doing a really bad job of it. He did Rush Hour 2, did Rush Hour 3, I believe. He did the story for Indiana Jones 4. He also did Catch Me If You Can, and this has a talented cast. Donald Glover as Simba. You have Beyonce as Nala. Let me say right now, the critics of Beyonce. Beyonce is not my absolute favorite. I'm not even saying that Beyonce is like the most iconic singer ever, but she is mega popular, has incredible range, can do a variety of genres, and has absolutely earned her keep because she has marketed herself well, and she has the talent to back it up. There are people that say she's not the best actress. Obsessed. I will just fight for Obsessed because Obsessed was goddamn entertaining. Beyonce is not all that bad as an actress. She was not any of the problem with this movie. So I really don't get the criticism there. But I am watching, or I decided to rewatch this rather, along with the 1994 original that was, I think, sometime last week, because shortly after this review goes up, I will be reviewing Mufasa the Lion King, the prequel that precisely nobody asked for. So you have Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, you have Chiwetel Ejiofor, the guy that was in 12 Years a Slave. And he's also been in a bunch of stuff. I can never get his name right. He is a great actor, though. He really is. John Oliver as Zazu. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Rest in peace, James Earl Jones. John Candy as Rafiki. Alfre Woodard as Sarabi. And Timon was voiced by Billy Eichner, who pretty much torpedoed any mainstream career that he had with how he reacted about boys not doing well, or Bros, not boys. Whatever. That Bros movie. Remember that romantic comedy that was like LGBTQ influence? It seemed like a really good idea. Failed at the box office. Any other was pushback from the bigots or was pushback from the goddamn bullshit people, and they can all burn in hell as far as I'm goddamn concerned. The movie had many problems. Namely, Billy alienating a lot of people because it wasn't very fucking good regardless of what the theme was. So let me just talk about the facts and figures here, and then I'll talk about a couple different things that they did, because this isn't going to be much of a review beyond talking about what they did photorealistically and stuff like that in just a couple of editions. Because I think bell to bell, this thing is about 20 or 25 minutes longer than the original. So anyway, a live action adaptation with photorealistic stuff. It's like Disney's National Geographic. If Richard Attenborough or David Attenborough, I always get those confused. One of the Attenboroughs voiced it over, but then you decided basically to just have him voice over something that was done by really, really faulty AI. $260 million budget. It made almost that back in its opening weekend. $191.7 million opening. Holy shit. $543.6 million U.S. gross and $1.66 billion worldwide. So yeah, what do I know? They pretty much made a whole lot of goddamn money. Let's talk about the 2019 Aladdin movie that I did a review of, 5.5 years ago almost. That had an $83 million budget, a $91.5 million opening, $355.5 million U.S. gross, and made over $1 billion worldwide. So, sure, not as successful, but it still made a goddamn mint. So $2.7 billion between these live-action movies with combined budgets of... It was basically just around $500 million if you really want to go with it with the marketing and stuff like that. So, okay, it did better than the Little Mermaid one. By the way, that was not Halle Bailey's fault. That was not her fault at all. The movie was just really shit. And let's just get to the goddamn, movie here. So, there are parts that look impressive, and the nighttime scenes, I'm like, okay, I know this is mainly made by computer graphics, but dear goddamn Christ, this is terrible. It was fan service, but in the worst way. It was like, yes, we did this stuff in an animated setting that was a lot better, and I will go to bat for the original Lion King. Florence Kasumba was the voice of Shenzi the hyena, I believe the one that Whoopi Goldberg did the voice for. She's actually a terrific actress. But Chance the Rapper was in this along with Phil LaMarr. Again, a pretty damn good cast in all honesty. Besides the people I mentioned, you get the bit people, you go up and down the cast. There's some talented voice actors there. And you got The Circle of Life, you got The Wheel of Horseshit, you got Can't Wait to Be King. Be Prepared wasn't necessarily much of a song. I don't know if they didn't trust the guy to sing, or they were like, well, let's do this different. Let's cut one of the best songs, because let's include another song, and more on that later. The Stampede of Mufasa didn't even look as great as it did in the animated version. That's hard to do when you have a budget like this. I mean, and Mufasa got killed. So one thing I did actually not mind in this is they showed a little bit more of how Scar took over with the hyenas, and they were eating and killing too much game and stuff like that. Because in the original, yeah, you couldn't necessarily show some of that, even though this was still PG, so I don't really see what we were necessarily trying to hide in the original. But the bottom line is they were able to expand a little bit on the fact that Scar was able to take over. Now, that was a good idea. The problem is it wasn't very interesting because it just made the movie longer when it already was incredibly just bland. Very bland. The songs were really, really blandly done. Again, Beyonce is in this. Beyonce, somebody that can sing a few octaves. Donald Glover certainly can sing because this is America, or he can do something. But even the people that can't sing, John Oliver, I mean, I like John Oliver, but he was not very good as Zazu. He just wasn't. Like, Rowan Atkinson was better. And John Oliver is a hilarious guy, an intelligent guy, well-read, very, hilarious show Last Week Tonight, and absolutely understands, like, various world, how various world events can factor in, all this stuff. Like, he's a very intelligent guy, and he is very hilarious, but it just didn't translate here. So, they then showed Nala having to escape, from Pride Rock to go get Simba while he was rescued by Timon and Pumbaa. And Nala just shows up in the paradise. Here's Rafiki, and then Mufasa in the sky. Terrible rendition of Ghost Riders in the Sky. And there was a song, I don't remember what the title of it was, but I kept seeing Yes, Spirit. And I'm like, ooh, that was fun. Why did we include that? Because that was really shit. They did show Simba and Nala going across the desert, all that stuff, back to Pride Rock to rescue everybody. And then instead of doing the, whatever the luau thing, they basically, Timon and Pumbaa did the whole, did a brief rendition, very, very brief, so brief you might miss it. Be our guest, Remember, the live action version of Beauty and the Beast actually wasn't all that bad and got actually a pretty unfavorable reaction from some people, mainly church groups, but they can go to hell. That's one thing I'll probably retro review next year, even though it's not retro. Maybe I'll dive into some more Disney stuff, because I'm probably going to go more movie influence next year. So, nevertheless, we get the fire parts, we get hyenas getting thrown, we get the lions fighting back, we get Scar, blaming the hyenas, and then he gets thrown in. And then he said one line a little bit earlier that bites him in the ass. And then everywhere else, you were right about one thing, a hyena's belly is never full. And then Simba and Nala restore Pride Rock, and then they have a kid, and there you go. I mean, what the fuck you want me to say? Like, what the fuck you want me to say? It's a live-action Lion King movie that doesn't offer anything new that really works. I mean, again, expanding on Scar and stuff like that, and the horror that the lions are seeing because Pride Rock's balance is basically just being fractured, and Nala having to escape from there, from the eyes of Scar and get over there. And actually, those hyenas are not very good guards because she was able to do that pretty easily. But yeah, The Lion King 2019, it's just soulless and just bland and a waste of resources. I mean, I'm sorry. It was just a waste of resources. It made a boatload of money. Maybe some kids liked it. Maybe even kids that were allowed out of a house without adult supervision. But nevertheless, it's just this is not something I think that will be remembered as fondly as the animated one. You can show your kids the one that you watched as a kid, and they probably would like it a whole lot better because, one, it's shorter, it will hold their attention, and it actually has soul to it. So yeah, of course, The Lion King 2019 gets an F because it's terrible. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rutland. I'll see you soon.